Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's webinar, which is part of the Ohio Business Matchmaker preparation series. So this is week 3 of our webinars that we have going on. And as we've been doing this year, we have 2 tracks of webinars. So the morning track is focused on companies who are newer to the matchmaker or government contracting in general. And then the afternoon track is focused more on businesses who are more familiar with the matchmaker or just really want to learn how to do business with specific agencies. So I am Joseph Scott. I am your host for today, and I am the statewide manager for the Ohio Apex Accelerator. We focus on all things government contracting. And today's webinar is going to be focused on business certifications at both the federal and state levels. So we got some great speakers here for you. And before I introduce the speakers, I do want to make mention that the registration for small businesses for the Ohio Business Matchmaker is now open. So a notice is going out today, if not already, to let everyone know that. So please feel free to go to the Matchmaker website, and I will put that in the chat in just a little bit. So you can register for the matchmaker if you plan to attend. Today's webinar will be recorded and slides will be made available afterwards as well. So give us a few days to get the recordings processed and the slides collected and we'll get all that posted to the matchmaker website as well. And all of the past webinars these last 2 weeks are already on there along with most of the slides. So please do take a look at that if you missed any of those past webinars. So with one last thing as far as housekeeping, please utilize the chat or Q&A functions to submit a question, and we will address those when appropriate. So with all of the housekeeping out of the way, and without further ado, I would like to introduce our speakers here today. So we have Jill Nagy-Reynolds from the Columbus SBA, and we also have Chandrita Boykins and Stacy Cornett from the Ohio Department of Development Minority Business Division. So first up, we have Jill Nagy-Reynolds. As I mentioned, she is from the Columbus SBA, so she'll be talking about the federal business certifications. And Jill is a business opportunity specialist with the SBA, among a few other things. So she really focuses on connecting businesses with some of these opportunities as far as business certifications and government contracting as well. So without further ado, Jill, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Joey. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to present with the Ohio Minority Business Division as well. So it's great to see Stacy and Chandrita on today. We get to see each other, it seems like annually, for the matchmaker. But yes, I am Jill Nagy-Reynolds. I'm with the SBA Columbus District Office. I've been with the district office a little over 12 years. And hopefully you are attending this event today because you are interested in doing business with the government, because that is what this is all about. So what I am presenting on this morning is the federal small business certifications. And I will be followed by the state of Ohio small business certifications. The reason why I think it's important to mention that is there is no reciprocity between the certification programs at this time. So as you're doing your market research and finding out which level of government is the best fit for you, I recommend following that certification first. So I meet with an awful lot of small businesses that scramble just to get all of the certifications, and they spend a lot of time on that. And they haven't really identified which level of government is the best fit for them. So again, this is the federal certifications. This would be anything that is any federal agency. So when you think of Ohio, I'm sorry, none of the Ohio departments. So Department of the Interior, Health and Human Services, U.S. military, all of that. these small business certifications are a fit. So I will also be looking at the chat as I go on. Okay. And just let me know if you have any questions, if you can drop it into the Q&A. And I'll monitor it as best I can. But Joey, Chandrita, or Stacy, either the three of you, if you see a question come through and I miss it, feel free to interrupt me. It's not a problem. The best way to reach me, this is my email address and my office phone number, either way. Sometimes it's easier for me to quickly respond to an email because then I know exactly what type of question you have. I may not know the answer to it, but I can get to a person that does. So just to give you a brief background on the SBA Columbus District Office and the SBA in general. The focus for SBA is what we call the 3 C's. Capital, you may know of SBA through the SBA loan programs like 7A or 504. SBA guarantees the loan, and the actual loans go through lenders like Huntington or a lot of credit unions, Key Bank. So SBA partners with them. And that's, I know enough about that to be a little bit dangerous, but anything more in depth having to do with an SBA loan, I defer to my colleagues at the district office that are lender relations specialists. So I am the go-to person in terms of contracting at the district office, myself and my colleague Shonda Harris. So as you'll see today, what I'll be talking about are contracting programs for small businesses. They are tools that you can utilize if you are qualified and are pursuing federal contracts. And then the third core area service is counseling or consulting. The SBA has a grant program with the small business development centers, and the small business development centers are fantastic resources for businesses just getting started or businesses that have been in business for a while, and they may need help with infrastructure, HR, marketing, creating an operating agreement, business plan, all of that type of stuff. The small business development centers can assist you with. And they're all over the country. It just depends on where you're located. That is how you will find the closest small business development center to you. But the SBA Columbus District Office represents 60 of Ohio's 88 counties, mostly central and southern Ohio. And then there's a second SBA district office in Cleveland. So the Cleveland district covers east-west. So pretty much all of the counties north of Ashland County, and then up into eastern. So Akron, Canton, Cleveland, Toledo, all of those major metropolitan areas are covered by the Cleveland district. So I am not going to kill us with a PowerPoint today. At least that's my goal. So, but I think it's important to go over some key things when you're getting started in government contracting. So we're going to talk about SBA size standards, the self-certification for small, and then SBA small business programs, which include the 8A business development program, HUBZone, woman-owned, veteran-owned. I'm going to speak briefly on the SBA Mentor Protege program. So if this is even your first or second, fifth time hearing this information, it still takes a while to really understand how everything works. So that is what I'm here for as a resource. So if you have questions either after this or even a year from now, I'll still hopefully be here to answer those questions. So when you're getting started in federal government contracting, it's like learning a new language. So you have to translate what your business does into government speak. And at the federal level, any type of product or service that you provide, it has a cognizant NAICS code attached to it, or it may not be the exact service, but like, for example, if you do a type of consulting, there is a consulting NAICS code, but there may not be one for specifically project management consulting, for example. So, NAICS codes, and that's how you pronounce that. It stands for North American Industry Classification System. So there are over 1,000 of them. And that is when you're first getting started in federal government, you will have to identify what NAICS codes pertain to your business. So if you're an IT company, or if you're construction, if you're marketing, if you're whatever it is you are, there will be most likely a NAICS code that corresponds with your capabilities. In addition to those NAICS codes, there are size standards associated with them. And every 5 years, the size standards are updated. I think the last update was in 2022. But SBA, when we have SBA size standards, that means it's the largest size a business can be to participate in government contracting as a small business. And essentially size standards, they vary by industry. So I just mentioned that every product or service that you provide will have a corresponding NAICS code, or just something that's in the family of what you do. So they vary by industry and are based on either your number of employees. This would be if you were in manufacturing or manufacturing related services, or the amount of annual receipts the business has. That means your gross receipts. So I have firms that ask me, well, is it divided by NAICS code? Is your size divided by NAICS code? You know, you might have some work under one code and some work under another code. No, it's based on your gross receipts, okay? It doesn't matter the NAICS code designation for your size. Industries are determined by NAICS codes. Again, North American Industry Classification System. Here is a link where you can research NAICS codes. And you can do a keyword search. It's really quite interesting. I mean, every time I look at the list, I'm pretty surprised at all the different NAICS codes there are. There's one for outdoor motion picture theater, for example. Who would have thought the government would buy that? But there's just lots and lots of them. And you can have more than one NAICS code, but you should only have one primary NAICS code. And that primary NAICS code is where the greatest amount of your income is coming from. So a lot of businesses, when they are first getting started in government and they're looking to see what their primary NAICS code is, a lot of times, if you've had an accountant do your tax return, that accountant has assigned a NAICS code to your business that may or may not be exactly what it is that you do. We notice with the Paycheck Protection Program that a lot of the PPP loans, a lot of firms had NAICS codes assigned to them that they discovered were not their primary NAICS codes. So if you're new to this, look and see at your tax return. You might have one assigned to you already. But when you go in and register your business in the system for award management, you can choose whatever your primary NAICS code is, essentially. But again, what we say is it should be where the majority of your income is coming from. So small business is a self-certification. The SBA does not have any certification that they issue for small business status. So it's an honor system. When you register your business into the System for Award Management, or SAM.gov, and you put your either number of employees and your 5-year revenues, this system, like SAM, will say that you're a small business or not a small business based on that figure you put in there. The only time that would be protested is if you submit a proposal and you are the apparent awardee, and other businesses that also submitted on that same proposal, if they tell that contracting officer in charge of that proposal, hey, I don't think this is actually a small business, and here's the evidence I have to back that up, then the contracting office can send that to the SBA and we'll do a formal size determination. So 23% of all business is set aside for small business. So that's a fairly large chunk of, and all federal agencies have to comply with that. Okay, that 23%. And then within that, there's a 5% requirement for women-owned small business, 5% for small disadvantaged business, which includes 8A, 3% for HUBZone, and 3% for service disabled veteran-owned small business. And I'm going to talk about all of those programs today. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail for the sake of time, because I can present for either 15 minutes or 5 days. And this is not going to be a 5-day presentation. So we're going to start we're just going to dive in with the 8A program. That is the program that my official title is a business opportunity specialist. The BD stands for business development. So this program is the only of the set aside programs. It's a business development program. And it's important to understand that because it's the only program we have that has a start date and an end date. So it's a 9-year program. And I do a lot of counseling with small businesses that are interested in the 8A program. And in fact, when you first start really looking at federal government and going to federal government events, a lot of federal government professionals, like if they're small business professionals or contracting officers, contract specialists, if they think that you're qualified for 8A, they'll easily just tell you, hey, you should apply for the 8A program, apply for 8A, apply for 8A. So we have a lot of people interested in the 8A program. But I spend a lot of time just kind of cautioning them about when to apply, because here's the thing with the 8A program. It's a 9-year program, like I mentioned, and the qualifications for the program are based on 51% owned by a U.S. citizen who is socially and economically disadvantaged, okay? And it's based on the disadvantaged person in the business itself. So that disadvantaged person, if they were to get into the 8A program and graduate, they can only use that status as a disadvantaged individual one time. So they could not open a second business and then apply for 8A again. It's a one-time participation. And it's the same thing with the business. If the disadvantaged individual were to sell that 8A business either during or after certification, that business can't apply for 8A ever again. So you want to be strategic about when you apply for 8A. But the purpose of it it's to help small business gain a foot in the door in government contracting. And the purpose is business development to the point where upon graduation, that business won't need the 8A program anymore. It does not guarantee, however, that you will get a contract. That's another reason why to think carefully about when to apply for 8A. If you don't know an awful lot about federal government contracting, if this is your first time like attending a training about federal government and you're like, oh, I'm qualified for 8A, don't jump right into 8A, because the SBA doesn't have like a pool of contracts for 8A companies. It's up to the 8A firms to go out and market themselves to federal agencies. So please keep that in mind. So for eligibility, the ownership has to be 51% owned and controlled by U.S. citizens who are both socially and economically disadvantaged. So the social disadvantage is you have to demonstrate. Now, the rules changed last year with the 8A program. It used to be that if you were African American, Asian American, Hispanic, or a Native American, you were presumed socially disadvantaged. But we had a big court case last year, the SBA did, and the Federal Court of Tennessee found that SBA could not use that presumed disadvantage. So what it is you have to demonstrate, everyone has to demonstrate a lack of access to education, employment, or capital to meet that social disadvantage requirement. And in addition, the 51% owner must be economically disadvantaged. Your personal net worth must be less than $750,000 to get into the 8A program, and can't exceed 750 once you're in the 8A program. So there are some exceptions to the personal net worth. We ask for the equity that you have in your business, as well as retirement accounts and the equity you have in your primary residence. We ask for those things, but then they're exempted. They're taken out. They don't count against your net worth. They do, however, count towards your total assets, which can't exceed 6 million while you're in the program. So the other important thing to keep in mind is that the program wants you to have been in business for at least 2 years. It doesn't have to be, we have federal market. It doesn't have to be federal market. It can be, you have to be operating at a profit. So if your business is operating at a profit after the 2 years, then you could apply for 8A. You have to demonstrate good character. That means your business can't be on the debarred list from federal contracting. And you as a disadvantaged individual, that you have no felonies or misdemeanors, or if you do, that those are in your past. And you can't have participated in the 8A program in the past. So again, you have to be small. And I briefly mentioned what it means to be a small business. And what happens when you apply for 8A, the 8A, there's a certified portal set up now for 8A applications. There's a separate one for woman-owned. Eventually, SBA is going to have one big portal for all of the certification programs. But when you submit your application is processed in San Francisco. And then once you are approved in the 8A program, you're transferred to the district office where you are geographically located. So if your office is located within the Columbus district counties, you will be assigned either to me or to my colleague, Shonda Harris. So really, what is the benefit of 8A, the 8A program to you? So the 8A program is different than the other programs in that it has sole source authority without justification. So justification is justification and approval is a contracting action that can be pretty difficult for contracting officers. Like, for example, they have to justify why awarding a sole source contract to one technically capable business over another is justified. And the 8A program does not have that requirement. So contracting officers, when I say contracting officer, I mean anyone that's any professional that's within any federal agency that makes decisions and has a warrant to purchase goods with taxpayer dollars. So they could award a sole source contract to an 8A firm because they've decided they want to do business with that firm. They don't have to provide any other justification. So hang on a second. So for individually owned firms, the sole source threshold, that means that an 8A company can be awarded a sole source contract if the total value of the contract is $4.5 million or below for services and $7.5 million or below for manufacturing. Anything that's above the 4.5 million would become an 8A competitive contract, and anything above 7.5 million for manufacturing would become a competitive contract. We do offer business development through 7J. We've recently renamed that program. Actually, I need to update that slide. It's now called Empower to Grow. And it's actually a really good training series, and you can access that by going to the SBA.gov website. I will put that in the chat when I'm done. But essentially, there are qualification requirements for 7J. And I would imagine that most of you attending this webinar today are qualified by being a small business or located in a HUBZone. If you're a woman-owned small business or veteran-owned, you would be qualified for 7J, which is now Empowered to Grow, even if you didn't have the official certification. So I'm just kind of going quickly here through 8A. So that's the 8A program in a nutshell. Another one of SBA's government contracting programs, or not the SBA's, the SBA implements it, but federal government contracting program is the HUBZone program. And HUBZone stands for Historically Underutilized Business Zone. And it was designed in the 90s. Like the 8A program is actually older than the HUBZone program. I think the 8A program is late 70s, early 80s. But HUBZone was designed to help small firms in underutilized communities gain access to federal contracting opportunities. So HUBZone is a certification program. You do have to apply for it. And if, again, through SBA.gov, if you type in HUBZone, it'll go to the area where you can submit an application. But HUBZone areas are areas of low, medium household incomes, high unemployment, or both. And really, it's a very black and white program. You're either in your principal office is either located in a HUBZone or it's not located in a HUBZone. So if you're curious to see if you're located in a HUBZone, I have a slide with the HUBZone map, but that is the authority to find out if you're in one or not is to go to the SBA HUBZone map. But the program increases employment opportunities and stimulates capital investment in those HUBZone areas. And then overall, there are around 5,000 HUBZone certified companies in the country, the entire country at any given time. So there's not very many. So here's a screenshot of the HUBZone map. And if you see here, we just have West Virginia there, but you know, it includes the entire United States. You can see Ohio up here. And I'm not real sure of how recent the screenshot is. Okay, 2017. So things have changed since 2017, which is why you need to, if you go into SBA.gov and then HUBZone maps, or you can follow this link here, just type your address in and it'll tell you right away if you're in a HUBZone or not. So there's various ways that the SBA determines whether an area is HUBZone. It can be by census tract, by county, or by Indian land. So census tract means that there are certain pockets within an area that are HUBZone. The entire county is not HUBZone, but some of the areas within that county are HUBZone. When it says county, it means that entire county is HUBZone. And there's a lot of areas of Appalachia that are HUBZone. I would say if you're in Dayton, Columbus, or Cincinnati, Toledo, Akron, Canton, Youngstown, parts of those urban areas are HUBZone, but not all of them. So for HUBZone, the HUBZone company must be 51% owned and controlled by U.S. citizens. The business has to be a small business. So again, based on NAICS codes or number of employees, depending on if you're service related or if you are a manufacturer. And your principal office, here's the principal office must be located within a designated HUBZone. The principal office definition for HUBZone is interesting because it's where the greatest number of your employees work. So for example, you could have 2 locations as a business. And maybe one location has your administrative staff, and there are like 6 or 7 of you in that administrative staff area, and that is not a hub zone. But then you have a warehouse that's a mile down the road with 30 employees working in it. You would be qualified as hub zone because that warehouse location is where the greatest number of employees for the company is working. So if you have questions about HUBZone, you could always give me a call. And in addition to that principal office rule, 35% of employees must reside in a HUBZone. So the definition of employee for the purpose of HUBZone is anyone that works for your company at least 40 hours a month. And they are payroll employees. They are not 1099. They have to be payroll. Okay. There's no minimum amount of time in business to apply for HUBZone. They are very, very specific about that principal office and the 35% of employees. I'm working with a firm now that he's home-based and he has 2 additional employees, and all 3 of them are home-based. And they're saying like he doesn't meet the principal office. His home is HUBZone, but his employees are not in a HUBZone. Like you just have to be careful about that 35% of employee designation, because you can be like, even if you're 34.6% of employees residing in a HUBZone, you're not at 35. So if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm the HUBZone liaison for the district, so I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. So that's we kind of flew through that one too. So we talked about 8A. You got an idea. Well, we talked about small business. We talked about 8A. We talked about HUBZone. And now we're going to talk about the woman-owned and economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business program. So this is probably the one I get the most questions about because there are so many woman-owned certifications out there. This is the federal certification. So this woman-owned small business certification is for federal contracts. I have businesses that are trying to do business with Procter & Gamble, Honda, any corporations don't recognize this certification. The state of Ohio doesn't recognize this certification. Again, this is for federal contracts. So the woman-owned small business program is essentially in 2 different categories. And there's the woman-owned small business called, I'm just going to call it, it's a headquarters term and it's annoying, but it's so much easier when you're doing a presentation. So woman-owned, we're going to call WASB, and economically disadvantaged, we're going to call EdWASB. Okay. So, and I have a slide for each one, but essentially the program is divided based on your NAICS codes. Like you would be qualified as woman-owned under certain NAICS codes and economically disadvantaged under other NAICS codes. But the good news is if you qualify as economically disadvantaged, you're automatically also qualified for woman-owned. So woman-owned has changed a lot over the years. Like when I first started with SBA, it was still, women weren't considered underrepresented in very many categories. And then in 2011 is when there was a major change to the program where Congress said, no, in fact, women are underrepresented in a lot more industries than what we currently have. So they really expanded the program from like 2 NAICS codes to 800, and it has had a positive impact for women in government contracting. So to qualify as a woman-owned small business, you must be a small business for your primary NAICS code. The business must be 51% unconditionally and directly owned by women who are U.S. citizens. And there's no minimum amount of time required for the business to be in operation. In addition, that woman business owner must manage the day-to-day operations, make the long-term decisions for the business, hold the highest officer position, and work at the business full-time during normal working hours. So actually had a question about that yesterday, that last bullet point of full-time working normal hours, business hours. So there's, we understand there's a lot of new businesses out there where the owners may not be able to dedicate full-time. They may have to have outside employment. If you have outside employment, as long as that is not affecting the full-time normal working hours, you may still be qualified for the woman-owned certification, but you have to be at your woman-owned business full-time. You can have a part-time job, essentially, is what I'm saying, that as long as it's not affecting your normal working hours. So in addition to all of the rules for woman-owned, economically disadvantaged, you have to, your net worth can't exceed 750,000. So if your NAICS codes, if you determine that your primary NAICS code is an economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business NAICS code, when you apply for the program, you're going to have to provide your tax information and your personal financial statement so that SBA can make a determination that you are economically disadvantaged. So your personal net worth, the liabilities are the same as the 8A program. So they exclude your business equity, primary residence and retirement accounts. Your three-year average income can't exceed 350,000, and the fair market of all of your assets has to be 6 million or less. So in order to begin the process for women-owned small business, you must have an active registration in the system for award management. And actually, you can't do much in federal contracting if you don't have a SAM.gov account. And we did some training on finding opportunities last week. And one of that is like looking through opportunity. SAM.gov is now the portal for everything having to do with government contracting. It's a GSA system, but SAM is the portal by which your business can do business with the government. So you can't apply for any of the SBA certifications without an active SAM registration. So when you register your business in SAM, you will designate your business as woman-owned or economically disadvantaged woman-owned. And once you've done that, then you can go into the wosb.sba.gov, I believe, and submit your application. The applications, I'll tell you, they're about 8 months behind. So the reason why they are 8 months behind is we are, as an organization, understaffed in the certification areas. So it's a small but mighty team that are processing the woman-owned applications. I think it's a team of 5 or 6 for the entire country. They are getting additional funding to hire contract workers, but I don't believe that's happened yet. So there's a lot of firms that applied in 2023 that are still waiting to get their applications processed. This is the website. So it's wosb.certify.sba.gov. I'll leave it there for a second in case anybody wants to write that down. And it's a great site because there's also a lot of tutorials. There's a checklist of all the information that you need to provide to SBA for the certification. It's under a tab on the website called Knowledge Base. Again, that's Knowledge Base. When you click on Knowledge Base, it'll take you to the checklists, the step-by-step guides, what to expect when you apply, all the information you could ever want on wanting to apply for the program. So yeah, it's the SBA Woman-Owned Small Business Certification Program portal. They do migrate information from SAM, and they are all online forms. So but you will, you do have to upload your taxes. However, if you are, if your company is an economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business. So that's that for woman-owned, and we're just going to dive right into veteran-owned. So this is the fourth certification program. So we've talked about 8A, we've talked about HUBZone, we've talked about woman-owned. Now we're with the service disabled veteran-owned small business and veteran-owned small business. The SBA took over the veteran certification program in January of 2023. It used to be with the Veterans Administration, but through the National Defense Authorization Act, I think of 2018, SBA was told, hey, you need to take over this program. And it took 5 years for us to do it. But what happened essentially was we brought all of the VA employees that were doing the certification, we brought them over to the SBA to make the process as easy as possible. So veteran-owned small businesses can apply for certification. It is the service disabled veteran-owned designation that has the set aside. That is a 3% set aside. And you do need to provide your DD 214. You have to be a small business, but the certification portal is fairly comprehensive for service disabled veteran-owned and veteran-owned. So to be eligible, the company has to be 51% owned and controlled by a veteran, registered as a small business with sam.gov, and be a small business according to SBA size standards. And there's the portal to apply, veterans.certified.sba.gov. You can create an account within My SBA. SBA is working really hard to, like I said, to create one comprehensive site for all of the certification programs. It's just like HUBZone is still the odd one out. So I don't have a lot on that, but I'll end this presentation by briefly speaking on the SBA Mentor Protege program, because when you get started in government contracting, if you are a small business, it's hard to get your foot in the door, and it's hard to understand all of the rules, regulations, nuances with federal government contracting. So there is a mentor protege program where it's designed to bring businesses together with a contractual agreement. It is a legally binding agreement. It's a business development binding agreement. Where the mentor, it's between a mentor and a protege. So the protege is usually a small business. The mentor is usually an other than small business or a large business. And the business development agreement, according to SBA guidelines, has to include business development assistance that the mentor is going to impart on the protege. And that business development assistance could be everything from management systems, accounting, marketing, equity investments, assistance in capture management. So example, federal contract bidding, acquisition, business development, including strategy and identifying contracting and partnership opportunities. So these are things that, like, you as a protege would say, hey, mentor, I need help with these things. And you define what those things are. And then the mentor comes back and says, okay, protege, I'm going to help you in this way. And that's what the mentor protege agreement is. It's not a legal, it's not a business. It's a business development agreement. There's a lot of companies that get confused about that. Like, once you have a mentor protege agreement with SBA, you can then form a joint venture together, which would then allow you to bid on contracts. So The benefit to the mentor protege program. So a protege and mentor may joint venture as a small business. So say, you remember I said that most mentors are other than small. So, and other than small or large business can't bid on set aside contracts like small business or 8A or HUBZone. But if they are part of a mentor protege agreement, if they have a mentor protege agreement with a protege that is 8A or HUBZone or woman owned, they could form a joint venture and bid on whatever contracts or whatever set asides that the protege is qualified for. So if that protege is an 8A small business, they could bid on 8A and small business contracts. So I foot stomped on my second bullet point, I foot stomped a little bit that the SBA mentor protege agreement is not a joint venture agreement and can't be used to bid on contracts. The approval of an SBA mentor protege agreement allows for the mentor and the protege to form a joint venture. So those are separate actions, like a joint venture agreement. What I often recommend that firms do if they're applying for mentor protege is to go ahead and get a joint venture set up. It's a separate legal entity and requires a separate EIN, a separate bank account, SAM registration. So it can take a little bit of time to get it set up. So you want to plan for your success in the program. So protege may generally have only one mentor at a time, but there are exceptions, as everything in government contracting. So the SBA may approve a second mentor for a particular protege where the second relationship does not compete or conflict with the first one. So if you have any questions about the mentor protege program, you can always ask me. But as I mentioned before, it is a written agreement. So the small business must identify how the assistance to be provided is different from this would be if you had a second mentor protege. So with every mentor protege agreement you have, it has to be a written agreement that you submit to the SBA for approval. Mentor protege agreements may not exceed 6 years. So that's a fairly substantial amount of time. But what's also important to remember, proteges can only have 2 mentors for the life of their business. So you want to be strategic about who you decide to have as a mentor. Now, they did change the rules a couple years ago, saying if the mentor protege agreement is terminated within 18 months of initial approval, if you let SBA know, hey, this relationship isn't working, and if it's within that first 18 months, then SBA will annul the agreement and it won't count against that 2 for life. So there, you'd be amazed the things that can happen between mentors and proteges. So, but at least you have that 18-month window. If it's not working out, you can say to the SBA, hey, this is not working. You have to let the mentor know in advance. However, you have to give the mentor like 30 days advance notice that you're going to be terminating the relationship. Firms cannot obtain a federal contract. Okay, they have to form a joint venture again. And so the SBA doesn't match mentor firms with protege firms. An applicant must apply for the program with an identified prospective mentor. So we do, however, we plan events throughout the year to hopefully bring mentors and proteges together. I would say the next big one we have is the Ohio Business Matchmaker, because there's a lot of businesses from all over Ohio. In fact, Indiana and some of the neighboring states will be there too. And it's your opportunity to go out and network with other businesses for the sake of perhaps teaming or ultimately forming that mentor protege agreement. So the application process is taking up to 105 days. That includes the 15 days of screening and 90 days of processing. They are a little bit more ahead than the woman-owned small business program. This is what I tell everyone when you're getting started in government contracting. Has your business ever done business with the federal government? And if it hasn't, then you might want to consider subcontract work first, because subcontract work can give you an idea of the culture in federal government, the amount of paperwork that you have to keep track of, because it is different. And then getting to know like the acquisition cycles of whatever type of work that you end up pursuing. Is your business financially prepared? So I did a call with a business not too long ago, and their receipts, just their gross receipts, weren't very high. It's hard to support a $5 million contract when, for example, your 5-year average receipts are 100,000. So can you get access to capital if you get a large contract? Like, do you have a line of credit? Is there a way for you to be able to pay for your materials and employees until you get paid? I mean, the government pays, I think, in 90-day cycles. So you've got to be able to pay your people and your materials for a little bit before you can start getting your money from the government, you know, from those contracts. So you have to plan for your success. Is your business able to obtain a facility clearance or secret clearance? A lot of the DoD contracts, if they're on military bases or embassies or State Department facilities, they require a secret clearance. Can you get one? How do you get one? Has your business met with an Apex accelerator? I can't tell you enough how important that type of foundation is. Like, Apex accelerators can provide that technical counseling you need when you get started. So, and then finally, has your business identified potential teaming partners? Because yes, it's hard for teaming, because then you don't have as much control in a contract. You have to be able to share things, but you can double your capacity when you team. So keep that in mind. Your competitors in the commercial world may become your teaming partners in the government world. So that is my presentation. Does anyone have any questions? And I kept it right at an hour, so that was pretty good.
I was gonna say, I'm not seeing anything in the chat real quick, but Joe, what are some of the, just, before we transition here, what are some of the biggest issues or hurdles that you see with the businesses related to the SBA certifications?
Well, with 8A, I would say I probably see a lot of firms wanting to apply for 8A before they meet that 2 years in business. And what I tell firms is that, the program is not going to go away. And in fact, if you haven't been in business for 2 years, you might not be ready for the 8A program anyway. So, and then most of it is on SBA. It's not necessarily on the firm, on the businesses, because we do have a longer turnaround time to getting the applications processed. And your financial statements, that's a good question, Joey. You're getting me thinking. So financial statements, making sure that you have current financial statements. And when I mean current, that is, at the time of your application, say you were to apply today, April 10th, you have to have 3 months of prior year financials. So you may have you're up to December 2023, but then you would also need March, February, and January. So those 3 months leading up to when you apply. I see a lot of kickbacks because of financial statements. And I want to tell everyone, even if you apply and you don't have everything, SBA will come back and say, hey, business, we noticed that you're missing this. Can you please give us that? So you're not automatically denied a certification because you're missing something. Just be willing to work with your analyst. And just, unfortunately, patience is key right now.
That's good to know. And our Apex accelerators, we can walk through and help you understand what all is required, so that you are submitting a more complete packet on the front end, because that'll help, with processing times as well, more
Absolutely.
complete and accurate, which this kind of ties into the next question here. What is the timeline to get HUBZone approved if you're applying for the HUBZone certification?
It should be, that's a good question. Thank you for that. It should be 90 days from the submission of a complete application. Again, with HUBZone, well, I say that, but I have some applicants that it's taking longer than that. HUBZone gets complicated because of the 35% of employee requirement and having to provide proof of residence for those employees. Just keep in mind when you're applying, there might be a period, say you apply in April and the HUBZone office gets back with you in June. Your application is still based on everything you submitted in April. So if they have any questions about the employees or the principal office, it'll have to do with that period of time of application. Because I've seen that over and over with the HUBZone office. They'll ask for information and the applicants give current information, but it has to be based on the time you applied. But like Joey said, the simpler the application, if you're able to work with an Apex accelerator to get it as complete as you can, it will keep the process from getting bogged down and going back and forth and providing clarification on things, which is going to happen anyway, but you want it to be minimal so that you can get registered as quickly as possible.
Another question here that I think that's more for me. So what is an Apex accelerator? Well, so Apex accelerators, we are funded in part by the Department of Defense and the state of Ohio, and we have local partners all throughout Ohio at Youngstown State University, Ohio University, and Rhodes State College. Apex accelerators exist to help businesses with all things government contracting. So whether you are starting out, needing to get registered in SAM to go after these business certifications, get registered with state of Ohio, looking at the business certifications, looking at contract opportunities, we have a daily bid match that we can set up for you, to more advanced things. Say you're actually responding to an opportunity. We can walk through that response with you. We are not able to write anything. We are not an agent of your company. We are a consultant. We are here to assist. On the post-award side of things, we can walk you through invoicing. We can walk you through all the contract requirements. So we are your one-stop shop for all things government contracting throughout the entire process. And you may or may not know us by our former name, which was the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, or PTAC. So we just have a new name, but same great mission of helping businesses with all things government contracting at the federal, state, and local levels. And I know we're right at 11 o'clock, so I think, Jill, I'm not seeing any other questions, so I'll thank you for your presentation. And we'll transition over here to the second half of our presentation today, which is focused on the state of Ohio business certifications and some of the other programs that we have here to assist. So on deck, we have Ms. Stacy Cornett and Ms. Chandrita Boykins. Stacy Cornett is the Deputy Chief within the Minority Business Division, and she handles a lot of the business certifications, among other things. And Chandrita Boykins is the Business Development and Entrepreneurship Manager. So she is going to talk about some of the business programs Minority Division in the state of Ohio has that can really set you up for success as well. So without further ado, ladies, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Joey. And Joey, am I sharing my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, give me 1 second to do that. I'm having a problem with my Teams this morning, my Zoom. Let me see if I can just share. Can you guys see it yet?
Not yet, Stace.
You can't see it yet?
And fix your camera. I can only see the top of your head and your glasses.
Okay, hold on. There we go. Can you see me
There's
now?
that beautiful face.
Okay,
Yes.
let me see why my screen is not sharing. I have it up on my screen and I don't know why it's not sharing.
Joey, can she email it to you and you progress the
I've
slide?
already emailed it, but I don't.
I'm pulling it up right now. Give me 1 second. And
Okay, do you already have it, Joey?
Yeah, we will do it this way.
Okay, great. And then I can just say next slide. Or I don't know why I don't know. It had me in here 3 times today, so I must be special.
No worries. These things happen.
Okay, great. Well, anyway, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us as we're on the road to Matchmaker. This is very exciting. My name is Stacy Cornett, and Chandrita Boykins, who is also known as my work wife, is on with me today. So I will be talking about the certification programs, and Chandrita will be talking about our loan programs, and that's very, very exciting as well. And today I'm going to talk to you about the certification programs for the state of Ohio. And we have 4 certification programs. Next slide, please. Our first program is our Minority Business Enterprise Program. And this program establishes a 15% set-aside procurement goal for state agencies, boards, and commissions in awarding contracts to certified MBEs, Minority Business Enterprise MBEs. Set aside means that those contracts and purchases have to be solicited and awarded in a sheltered market. It is an ethnicity-based program designed to assist minority business in obtaining state contracts for goods and services. To be eligible for this program, you must be a full-time Ohio resident, a United States citizen, possess knowledge of the business and industry which you're seeking certification for, have day-to-day control of the business, demonstrate capability or expertise of the business, and you must own and control 51% of the business. Next slide, please. You must belong to one of these minority groups to be eligible for the MBE program. You must be African American or Black, American Indian, Asian, Hispanic, or Latino. And I won't go into depth of how all of the state defines those, but you will have access to this presentation after today. Next slide, please. And before we go to the Growth and Encouraging Diversity program, I'm going to just give you a little bit more information on the MBE program. For your business to qualify for any of our certification programs I'm going to talk about today, you have to be a for-profit business and you have to be in operation for at least 1 year. The benefits of the MBE certification are contract assistance, financial and bonding assistance, and we also have management and technical assistance available. You are eligible for set-aside contracts as an MBE. As a certified business, you are listed in a searchable database that is updated in real time on our website. And you can compete for 15% of the state's spending budget in a sheltered bidding process. And as I said, we have financial and bonding assistance, and we have the Minority Business Bonding Program that you would be eligible for as an MBE. Additionally, we have our Ohio Capital Access Program and our Collateral Enhancement Program. And these are programs which Chandrita is going to talk about when she comes up next. Now we're going to talk about our EDGE program. Before I go on, are there any questions on the MBE program? Does anyone have any questions? If anyone sees a question in the chat, just stop me and I will be more than willing to answer the question for you. Okay, we're going to continue on. Our next program is the EDGE program, and EDGE means encouraging diversity, growth, and equity. The EDGE program is designed to assist socially and economically disadvantaged businesses in obtaining state government contracts in the following areas of construction, architect and engineering, professional services, goods and services, and information technology services. The state of Ohio developed this program because it recognized the need to encourage, nurture, and support the growth of economically and socially disadvantaged businesses to foster their development and increase the number of qualified competitors in the marketplace. The EDGE program does have a goal, which is 5%. And the EDGE program is an ethnicity and gender neutral program designed to assist socially and economically disadvantaged businesses. Next slide, please. An EDGE certified business must be owned and controlled by a U.S. citizen who is a resident of Ohio, and a business may qualify for EDGE certification if its owner is both socially and economically disadvantaged, or if the business is located in a qualified census tract and the owner of the business is economically disadvantaged. And we just heard Jill speak about HUBZone, and that's that qualified census tract. So when we're actually looking at applicants in HUBZones, we actually use and utilize the SBA's HUBZone map that Jill just showed us. And as she said, 35% of the workforce must reside within that HUBZone. They have to be full-time employees of the business. They cannot be 1099 employees. And the economic disadvantage is based primarily on the owner's personal net worth. You must have been in business 1 year before applying and at least be 51% owned and controlled by the socially disadvantaged individual. The additional requirements for the EDGE program are race or ethnic gender, female gender, chronic physical or mental disability, businesses long-term resident in an environment isolated from the mainstream of American society. So when we look at some of the HUBZones, some of the areas we look at in Ohio, and we see businesses that certify from the HUBZone are kind of businesses that are in the Appalachia area. For example, we may see things that are down around the Athens area, the Portsmouth area. We do have HUBZone areas there because they're considered historically not in the mainstream of Ohio or in the mainstream of business. The benefits of the EDGE certified program are they're eligible for also the contract assistance, financial and bonding assistance, management and technical assistance, our procurement. They're also listed in the searchable database that is real time on our website. And they have the opportunity to compete for contracts from state agencies, boards, and commissions and universities, which must meet the EDGE spending goals. Next slide, please. And now we're going to talk about our Women Business Enterprise program. And this program is our newest program. And the state of Ohio's Women Business Enterprise program is designed to assist women-owned businesses in obtaining contracts. It is designed to assist them in obtaining contracts for goods and services, construction, architect, information technology, and professional services. While this program currently does not have a procurement goal or a set-aside contract for state government contracts, this is something we see coming in the near future. And the state developed this program because it recognized the need to encourage, nurture, and support the growth of women-owned businesses and to foster the development and increase the number of qualified competitors in the marketplace. Currently, this is the #1 growing program behind our Minority Business Enterprise program is the WBE business. Next slide, please. And as I said, you must be owned and controlled by a woman who is a United States citizen, a resident of the state of Ohio. Some of the benefits of being a women-owned business in the state of Ohio are your eligibility for contract assistance, management, and technical assistance. We have a reciprocal state certification with other states. Ability to utilize Ohio's WBE certification to apply for certifications with reciprocal states doing business in those states as a WBE certified business. For example, the state of Kentucky. You're eligible for open market contracts. You're also listed in our searchable database, which is real time on our website. You have the access to management and technical assistance. Our minority business assistance centers, as well as our Apex centers as well, is something that we let all applicants know that they have access. So as you can see, we work very closely with the SBA, and we work very closely with Joey as the manager of the Apexes in Ohio. Chandrita and I just met with a group of young minority entrepreneurs on Friday afternoon at the library here in Columbus, one of the local libraries, and we were telling them Apex and all of the benefits of the Apex Center. So as you can see, we support each other's programs, and we all have different caveats we bring. So Joy, you may be seeing some individuals reaching out to you because Chandrita and I were telling them about the Apex, and they never heard of it. So that's how we get the word out about our different programs throughout the state of Ohio. Also, you have access to free accounting assistance, auditing and management record, development business organizations that facilitate training, networking, and mentoring opportunities. So I'm going to stop right there and see if we have any questions in the chat. Okay, we will go to the next slide, please. Now we are going to talk about one of my programs, which is one of my favorites, and it is the Veteran Friendly Business Enterprise. The Veteran Friendly Business Enterprise Program is a procurement program, and it provides preference or bonus points to certified companies that compete to contract with the state to supply goods or service it needs, including eligible construction services. To be eligible for this certification, you have to at least 10% of your employees are veterans on active duty. At least 51% of the applicant business is owned by veterans or a person on active duty. If you are a corporation, 51% of which is not owned by veterans or a person's on active duty, but it has at least 51% of the board of directors are veterans or persons on active duty. The business is certified by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs as the service disabled veteran-owned small business or veteran-owned small business, and the owners of the business meets the definition of a veteran as lined in our Rule 123. You do not have to reside in the state of Ohio. You nor the company have to reside in the state of Ohio. This is why this is called a veteran-friendly business enterprise. And we have a lot of veterans throughout the country, specifically in California, that apply for the veteran-friendly business enterprise program because businesses see that veterans like to do business with veterans, be it small mom and pop businesses. And we have many veteran businesses who don't want to compete on this level. They just want to be recognized. And the state of Ohio took the initiative in recognizing any veteran or individual on active duty in the entire United States and certifying them as a veteran-friendly business enterprise. Next slide, please. And this talks about it, what I just went over, one of the 4 criteria that must be met to apply and to be certified for certification as a veteran-friendly business enterprise. And most of the companies who seek our certification are themselves owned by a veteran. A lot of them are owned by veteran individuals who are married. The next slide, please. And that is what we have to talk about with the veteran-friendly business enterprise. The women's business enterprise are encouraging diversity and growth program, as well as the minority business enterprise. Those are the 4 programs that we have. All of our programs can be accessed and application can made through the Ohio Business Gateway. If you are a state of Ohio business, you should be very familiar with the Ohio Business Gateway because this is the gateway through taxes are made, workers' compensation, and we are there as well. You would look for the Minority Business Development Division. And Joey, do you have any questions for me before I turn it over to Chandrita?
I do have one, just a clarification on the VBE or VFBE. So one of the eligibility criteria is certified by the VA. Does that translate to the SBA's veteran-owned small business and service disabled veteran-owned small business program now that that's under the SBA?
Yes, it does.
Okay, I just wanted to
And even if you're not certified by them, if you're just a veteran, you can still be certified. And that's not a mandatory thing that you have to have. But once a business becomes certified with us, we do share the information with them that they may want to be certified. Well, as we were saying, the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, but now that is under the SBA. Anything else? Well, with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Chandrita Boykins. Ms. Boykins.
Hello. I know you're in virtual cyberspace, but let's give my work wife a round of applause for a tremendous presentation. She also turned a year older yesterday, so happy birthday to her. So as she stated and Joy stated, my name is Chandrita Boykins. I'm the manager of business development and entrepreneurship, and I am going to be discussing our magnificent loan programs today. So Stacey, if you're still on, can you advance the next slide for me? All right, so we have a number of financial programs here. Before I start, I want to mention that the first 3 loan programs that I will discuss are loans that are administered through our division and directly to consumer. And with those loan programs, we do not check your credit scores. When I started working here, I said, what's the purpose of the Minority Business Development Division? Why is it set apart? Why is it just not a business development division, whatever the case may be? And so they were like, well, one of our goals is to reduce, remove, or eliminate as many barriers as we can for minority and women and veteran disadvantaged business owners. And I said, okay, so I come from 20 plus years of banking experience. I've been every position in the banking center. And I said, well, the one thing that is a barrier for that population or demographic of people is credit. I said, so with our loan programs, are we planning to run their credit? And their initial response was yes. And so I said, well, that's the biggest barrier in some of those communities. And so I think that we should consider taking that off the table. So as we were building out the microloan program and the Women's Business Enterprise Loan Program, which are the first 2 loan programs I'll discuss, we took that off the table. So we no longer, again, for the microloan, the Women's Business Enterprise Loan, or the Minority Direct Loan Program, we no longer and have never checked your credit in order for you to qualify for those programs. So with our Ohio microloan program, that is a 0% interest loan for 5 years for working capital. Now you must be WBE or MBE certified at the state level to qualify. Again, 0% interest between $10,000 and $45,000 and can be used for any business expense. No prepay penalties on that loan. We have several people who pay their loans off early, their business booms, and then they're like, hey, I made enough money to pay this loan off early, and great. The other thing is with the Ohio Microloan Program, you can qualify for up to $90,000 with that program. And so what we've done, because with the pandemic, a lot of businesses that were brick and mortar went to click and order. So they needed more supplies, more inventory, more things of that nature than they did for a physical location. And so I said, well, what if they need more than $45,000? How can we help them with that? Because when you deal with the state, you have things that are statute and you have things that are policy. And so if it's a statute, things have to be voted on. And there's a statute that says if we loan from our division more than $50,000, then it has to go to an outside board for decisioning. So I said, well, how do we circumvent that? And my boss said, don't say circumvent when you're in politics. Say, how do we work within the system? I said, well, how do we work within the system to make that happen where if people need more than $45,000 working capital, we can supply that? And so what we came up with is that as long as your microloans are in a different fiscal year, so fiscal year 24, if you are dispersed a microloan, then in fiscal year 25, you can come back as long as you qualify and reapply. So that means that in some cases, you could have $90,000 in 1 year at 0% interest for 5 years. So the state's calendar runs from July 1 to June 30. So if you are dispersed and distributed funds on a microloan before June 30 of this year, then July 1 of this year, you can reapply and also be dispersed up to another $45,000 on the microloan program at 0% interest for working capital. With our Women's Business Enterprise Loan Program, that loan program goes between $45,000 and $500,000. The interest rates are between 1.5% and 3%, or not between, it's either 1.5% or 3%. If you are state level certified as a women-owned business enterprise, or we bank our ORV, Women Business Enterprise Council, Ohio River Valley certified, we have a reciprocal agreement with them for the Women's Business Enterprise Loan Program. Your interest rate is 1.5%. If you are not certified as a WBE in either one of those categories, then your interest rate is going to be 3%. If you are purchasing anything outside of commercial real estate, the term is going to be 10 years, up to 10 years. If you are purchasing commercial real estate, must be owner occupied at 51% of the total square footage, and the term is 15 years, up to 15 years, I should say. So on the Women's Business Enterprise Loan Program, we only fund 75% of the total loan project cost. So that means if your total loan project cost is $100,000 and you qualify, the state will give you $75,000. At least $10,000 is the responsibility of you and your business. And then the other 15% is the responsibility, can be the responsibility of you and your business, or it can be the responsibility of a third party lender. And so, but that other 25% is your responsibility to come up with, because we will only fund 75% of the total loan project cost unless it is a business refi. So if you have business debt, high interest business debt, you can refinance that at 100% loan to value. So if you have $100,000 in business debt, we will refinance $100,000 in business debt at either the 1.5% or 3% interest. We have recently done this. Well, it's been a year now, since last April. We did this for an individual who was in a predatory loan. It was interest only, and she was paying $68,000 a month, $68,000 a month in this predatory loan. We were able to refinance $500,000 worth of debt for her, and now her payment is less than $55,000 a year. And so we will do that again, debt refinance at 100% loan to value. Other uses of funds under this loan program is fixed assets such as commercial real estate, owner occupied again, equipment and machinery, and then remodeling and renovations as well. Our minority direct loan program is as old as I am. It was founded in 1979, so we're both 44. It stood up in 1982. I believe that's when we did our first loan. And so we have up to, that loan fund provides up to $1.5 million at 1.5% interest. You must be MBE certified in order to qualify for that. And it's used for fixed assets, such as the purchase of commercial land, commercial building has to be owner occupied, machinery or equipment as well. And then we will do heavy highway equipment, but no semi trucks. So if you have a dump truck or something to that nature, caterpillars, excavators, those kind of things, we will provide funding for those, but no semi trucks or 18-wheelers. Excuse me. That loan program also does the same equity split as the Women's Business Enterprise Loan Program. So we will do up to 75% of the total loan project cost. 10% has to be the client's equity. The other 15% can come from the client or a third-party lender. And we also have our minority business bonding program, which I absolutely adore. I was on a panel yesterday with Joey, and there was a guy there who worked for a bonding company, and he gave a shout out to the state because even others recognize how great this program is. So if you travel to any nook and cranny of the state of Ohio, you're going to see an orange barrel or an orange cone, which means that there's some development there, some road work being done, either on top of the ground or under the ground, but there's something happening in that space. And so we provide bid surety and performance bonds for minority business enterprises. So you must be MBE certified currently to take advantage of our bonding program, but we provide bonding lines up to $1 million. And so if you are working with a contractor who requires a bond and you are MBE certified, look at the state to see if we're able to support you in that effort. And then these two programs down here finally on the slide are not customer facing programs for us. Our collateral enhancement program and our Ohio Capital Access program, which we refer to as OCAP, and we refer to the collateral enhancement program as CEP, are loan loss reserves. That's the best way I can describe it for financial institutions. So with the CEP program, it is definitely to enhance your collateral shortfall, not to replace a collateral shortfall. So if you are a nascent business owner and your business doesn't have any assets yet, you don't have any collateral, either cash or tangible fixed assets, then if you can show a demonstrable shortfall and that financial institution wants to do business with you, but they're afraid for whatever reason, new business, the industry, again, lack of collateral, lack of cash collateral, then they can contact the state of Ohio and ask us to support them in making that deal happen for you. And if the state likes that, then we will back the bank so that they can make that loan for you. We do not determine the interest rate or the term on those. That comes directly from the financial institution. And we will never deal with you directly as the client. If you're involved in one of these programs, we will simply be there communicating with the bank or the financial institution that you're working with, trying to make the deal go through for you. Now, if the bank loves you, but we decide that we do not want to participate in that deal, that is a possibility as well. I've been with the state for 3 years. I've never seen it happen. So every time a financial institution, they pretty much know what we're looking for anyway, comes to us or have come to us since I've been here, we have provided the financial assistance to back the deals. But that is not to say that it is not a possibility that that cannot happen. Such is the case with our Ohio Capital Access Loan Program. This program is the only program that we have here where we will lend or support loans for nonprofits as well as for-profits. This will give you up to $350 for land, commercial building, machinery, or equipment, and then we'll also support any working capital needs up to $250,000. Now, with the Ohio Capital Access Program, it works like the Collateral Enhancement Program. You would have to go to a state depository. CEP is available for all financial institutions. The Ohio Capital Access Program is only allowed for state depositories. And I'm making that a point because not every bank, even though it accepts deposits, is a state depository. There's a qualifying list. There is a list. And so if you're interested in the Ohio Capital Access Program, you can contact myself. I think Daryl Wanzerski, my loan officer, is on the call as well. You can contact Daryl and we will get that list over to you. Again, the bank is the one who underwrites the deal. They like it, but for some reason, they want the support of the state. They will reach out to us. They'll send us your entire loan packet, fully underwritten, and we'll determine if we want to come along and support the bank in making that, or the state depository in making that deal happen for you. Any questions so far? I don't see any in the chat, but has anything that I've said sparked anyone's interest? No? Stace, advance the slide for me. We have a recent loan program back in January or early 2023. The State Small Business Credit Initiative, affectionately known as SSBCI, awarded us a grant, our department, of $182 million. From that department, our division development got about $52 million, somewhere around there. And so our plan was to work with CDFIs, Community Development Financial Institutions. One that may sound familiar to you all on the call is ECDI. It's the biggest CDFI in the country at this point. And so we wanted to work with CDFIs in the state of Ohio to be able to provide additional funding options that are not race or gender based and that don't necessarily require any type of certification. And so We gave ECDI about $5 million. We have some some CDFIs. We have one in Akron, Western Reserve. We have one in Youngstown Valley Partners. We have the Appalachian Growth Fund for all of Appalachia. And we have Freedom Equity that simply loans to Black-owned businesses in Franklin County at this point. They are looking to expand their reach for that program, but they only operate in Franklin County for now. And so these funds go to SETI businesses, which stands for socially and economically disadvantaged individuals that can't obtain mainstream or traditional financing. So the likelihood of them going into a bank is slim to none and getting financing. And so working with those CDFIs, who are also referred to as second look lenders, is a possibility for any business owners. We again do not control the interest rate that you are charged from these CDFIs, and nor do we determine the term. And those funds can be used for pretty much anything. Anything that CDFI will fund is what they can use that money for. And so two of the programs that I said a lot of women and minorities don't play in the sandbox in is in franchising and in mixed use real estate. And so right now, if you have a development project or if you have a renovation of a fixed use real estate project, a CDFI will loan you up to $500,000 toward that end. Now, there is a percentage that you are responsible for, and you may have to involve another third party or a capital stack, but they will provide up to, that's their limit, at $500,000 toward that end. And then also with franchising, I said, you know, some people have the entrepreneurship bug and the capacity and the capability to own a business, but they don't have that to build one. And so, and sometimes it's easier to buy a business than it is to build a business. So franchising is always an option. And so they have monies set aside for that as well. Stace, you can advance the slide for me. That is my contact information. It should have actually been Daryl's contact information, but feel free. I know Joey's going to send out the slide deck, but feel free to not call me. Feel free to email me. I am typically not ever available by phone because I'm always out. I also head our research or our outreach from here in the department. And so I'm typically in the street or doing webinars or calls like this. And so with email, I'm typically very responsive. So it'll be myself or Daryl who gets back in contact with you once you email me and with questions, or if you want to dig deeper into the loan programs. And that is all for me. I know you guys are on information overload. So Stacy and I both kind of ran through our presentations because we also recognize that you're business owners. And if you're not turning a wrench or doing something, then you're probably not cutting a check. And so we want to make sure that we respect your time and get you back to the money. But we are here to answer any questions that you may have. With that, Joey, back over to you.
Thank you, Chandrita. Thank you, Stacy. I'll pose a question to both of you, kind of like I did Jill, while people are thinking about questions. What are some of the hurdles or common issues that you both have seen with the businesses you deal with?
So you want to go, Stace?
Yeah, I'll go first. One of the hurdles that I find is businesses are seeking certification, but they do not have complete documents. And then they have to wait, and they don't have their taxes done, or they don't have copies of taxes, and they have to request that information from the IRS. And we can't control because they're ready to get certified. They're on the brink of getting that. They're on the brink of getting that big project or that contract, and they don't have their information. And if you go through our minority business assistance centers, we can fast track a application within 7 business days if you're on the brink of getting a loan or you're getting a contract. But if they don't have that information, it delays. So I always encourage businesses to keep your documentation up to date, keep your taxes up to date, have that information readily available. In doing business, be about the organization of your business. And I feel like that's a lot of frustration that we get from businesses. They get frustrated with us but we have to operate within the confines of our laws. Thank you, Joey.
Thank you.
And I would say on the loan side, financial instruments, people aren't necessarily reporting on their tax returns, their actual revenue. So I always tell businesses that, owing taxes, I love to owe taxes. I hate to pay them, because owing taxes is a consequence of doing well in business. And so if you want to borrow, you have to show that you have the capacity to repay. And so being honest on your tax returns, making sure that you have access to your full tax returns, at least for the prior 3 years, your interim financials, your balance sheets, your income statements, your profit and loss, making sure that you have those financial instruments, because at the end of the day, and we don't check business plans, but business plans lie. Everything can lie, but those numbers are going to tell the truth. And so those are the things that we're going to use in order to make sure that you can repay the debt. Again, we're not going to pull your personal credit, but we are going to make sure that your business can meet the debt service coverage ratio as required by us in order to be able to incur this debt and be successful. Because our mission is not to overlend to you or underlend to you, because doing both can put you out of business. And so we want to right size the loan for you, and we're going to do that based on the numbers that you submit to us.
Thank you. Your comment about business plans, that reminds me of a quote. I can't remember who he was at the top of my head, but it was a famous boxer, and he always said, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face, right? So yeah, it's kind of the same thing with business plans. You do as much prep as you can, but once you're executing, you got to be adaptable. So
that's right.
Well, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, so we'll kind of wrap up here and everyone will get some time back. I want to thank you, ladies, all three of you, for presenting today. It was wonderful to hear about the business certifications and some of the resources at the federal and state level. So thank you all so much. Perfect. And to all of our attendees, just a reminder, the Ohio Business Matchmaker will be May 8th and 9th, and the registration is open now for suppliers. So please, if you've not checked that out, do so soon so you can get registered, and you can take a look at who all the buyers will be. We have that listed on the website, as well as the recordings and slides from our past webinars in the last couple of weeks. These slides and recording will be posted in the next few days. So we'll just need some time to get that all processed. So with that said, I hope everyone has a great rest of your day, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joey. See you in May, Jill.
Oh yeah, look forward to it.
See
you soon, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.